Hey, good afternoon, Pool Player Nation. I'm Jason Bowman. I'm joined by Bill Tufts, and we are less than 2 weeks away from the first one of two major APA championships in Las Vegas this year. And today we are here to tell you all about it. Bill, of course, I'm talking about the upcoming Pool Player Championships. Tell us where things are in terms of preparation for this year's event.
Well, we're getting excited. Things are just about ready to go. We're kind of putting the finishing touches on the event, which makes this a perfect time to do the event preview. Most everything is set in stone. We're just kind of working on those little bit of details, those little things that make it a little bit more special. But basically, we're just ready to get this thing going, ready to get everybody out there and have a good time.
Those little details go a long way in terms of the overall experience, though, don't they?
Huge.
All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to preview this year's Pool Player Championships we're going to kind of take you guys through how to prepare for your trip, what to expect when you arrive, and I would say overall just, how to have a great overall experience. So, Bill, let's, get right into it. First things first, online registration went live on Monday. Anybody that's coming to Vegas to play in any of the pre-scheduled events should have registered or should be preparing to register. Is that correct?
100%. And that registration is going to happen through member services, right? You're going to be able to register online. Essentially, what you're doing during that process is you're verifying your skill level, making sure we've got the right skill level for you, gives you an opportunity to ask any questions about that skill level prior to the event. But then it also allows you to verify the skill level if it is correct. And you're essentially signing off on everything that comes with the event too. Our ability to take your photo, our ability to use your likeness, that kind of thing. Agreeing to, go by the tournament director's ruling is kind of important in my world. It's all those things. So definitely, those. Pay attention to what you're agreeing to, right? If you have any questions, definitely reach out. But the benefit to registering online is that's all you have to do. Once you register online, you come out to Vegas, you show up for your first match. You don't have to do anything else, right? Now, for some reason, you do miss that window. For some reason, you can't get out there and actually register. There is a very limited on site registration, but I say very limited. And that's because it is. It's a very short time frame. We don't expect most people to do this. It's not the preferred way, it's not the best way. But if you have to, you absolutely have to, we can get you registered. Here's the thing though, the registration is short. That window is short on the late registration. If you miss that, you can't play until you actually come and certify with us and go through the registration process. Hopefully, you can get through that entire process before your first match. To get it done before your first match, otherwise you're ineligible for that round. So again, it's just much, much better, to go ahead and do it online. Get that part out of the way, right? Get that out of the way. You got enough things to worry about when you're traveling, hopping on a plane, getting to the hotel. You're trying to check in. You're doing all that. The last thing you want to worry about is I still have to register for the event, right? Because anything can go wrong. Make sure you're registered. If you do, you're good to go to play.
All right, so there's tip number one, folks. Get registered online if you're playing in one of the events out there, because what I heard Bill say is you're taking a lot of risk if you don't. One, you may be risking standing in a longer line than when you want to wait, and if you miss the window, you may have to forfeit a match. So do yourself a favor. You can do it right through your member services account. That's the same account that you log in at your stats and your standings and your membership stuff. Um, if you don't happen to have one up, you'll be able to access the online registration once you have it all set up. So do yourself a favor, take care of that. Plus, you're going to want to be able to look at your stats and standings from league
I
night,
mean, it's
right? On an
fun
ongoing
anyway, right?
basis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It gives you all the other stuff too. So definitely
gotcha.
something to sign up for and do the online registration.
All right. So online registration, again, make sure you do that if you haven't already. Um, Event program, Bill. I know that came out, I believe, yesterday. We shared it here on the Facebook page. If you go to poolplayers.com and the Pool Player Championships tournament page, you can find it there. But the event program's out there. What do you want them to know about the event program?
Well, Jason, we work very hard on the event program. It takes months to get this thing together and get all the information in. And that's for a reason. It's got everything you need to know regarding the event, right? We put in everything that you may need to know. It's all accessible through the event program. Now, it used to be we would print off the event program. We don't do that anymore. It's all digital. So, what we ask is that you guys do go out to poolplayers.com, download it to your phone. Then you've got access to all that information right in your hand. If for some reason you can't download it on your phone, we do have an event info booth that you can drop by and get information. Our tournament staff, everybody there's there to help you. If you do have questions, we can always help. But it's a lot better if you just have the information right there. It's easily accessible. It's going to have everything from opening ceremonies times, right? The late registration that I talked about, where and when you can pick up your travel assistance if you're one of our singles players, when and where you can pick up your goodie bags if you're a singles player or one of our showdown series players. It's got all that information in there. It's got our prize package payouts. It's got links to all the rules. It's also got links to our players meeting videos, which is very, very important. Everybody will need to see those. Uh, it's got the Mini Mania schedule. Everybody loves the Mini Mania schedule. It's all in there. So definitely download that. That's your biggest leg up outside of registering early. Second thing I would do is download that event program and have it on hand with you.
Yeah, and I know that's mobile friendly. Again, we're not printing those anymore. It's all digital. Everything's digital now. Post COVID, you've probably been to the restaurants where you're like scanning a QR code to read the menu, right? Every
Everything.
restaurant I
And
go
and
to
we
now.
actually do have
So
those too. We'll have some signs up to where you can, point your QR code and download it that way too.
yeah,
But why not just get it out of the way? Go ahead and get yourself informed and go through there, see what's in there, read ahead, and gives you a huge leg up on the event and what to expect whenever you get out there.
yeah, and I think knowing what to expect goes a long way in terms of the overall experience because you're just a little more prepared, right? You're not getting somewhere and looking around like what's next, right? You've got a game plan, and that helps make things a little bit more enjoyable. So yeah, like Bill said, bookmark that event program. Again, if you go to poolplayers.com, you go to the tournament information for the Pool Player Championships, you're going to find it there. We will be pushing it out on our Facebook page. I know we did yesterday. We sent out today another email that had a lot of frequently asked questions, again, with a link to the event program. So we will continue to share that, but make sure that you're looking at it, getting familiar with it, knowing what you need to do specific to the event that you're participating in. And like Bill said, it's got that mini mania schedule that I know so many players are looking for as soon as they can get it. So that's where you're going to find it, in addition to all the other schedules, payout times, and things like that. So, event program. What else, Bill? I mean, what about the event brackets? What's the schedule look like for event brackets?
So brackets are always kind of this time. Everybody's anxious to see who they're playing, right? They want to know. They want to know what the round time is. They want to know all that. These things do take a long time to coordinate. I mean, we're talking about thousands of players and making sure that we got the brackets set up, that we've got our table assignments set up, that we've got everything ready to go. That way it's accurate whenever it hits the player's hands, right? So right now, we're still looking at it. It'll be a couple days before the event starts before the brackets will drop, but we will definitely push it out there. Jason, I know your team does a great job of going out to Facebook, letting everybody know, and we'll post on poolplayers.com. But expect that about 2 days before the start of the event. So we're really talking that last week in April.
Okay, so when you
Now,
say
whenever
2 days,
yeah,
I was going to say, when you say 2 days
yeah,
before the event, is that specific to each event, or is that like 2 days before the first event and then
no,
they're all out there?
it'll be 2 days before the event. They'll all be out there. Every
Okay.
single one of them.
So
They'll
if
all
you're in an
drop at the
event
same
later
time.
in the week, you'll have a little bit more notice of what the schedule
You
is going
get
to
a
look
little
like.
bit of a leg
Cool.
up. And there's a million reasons why it takes that long. It just does. If we could get it out there sooner, we would, but that's the amount of time it takes. It's still a couple days before you'll get to know, when your match is, when you're playing. Um, that is if you download CompuSport. So that is the key part here. Third biggest thing, get through your online registration, get your pool player or the event program, poolplayers.com. Make sure you download CompuSport. CompuSport is how we administer all of the brackets, right? That's what'll go live. That's where it'll show the initial rounds. Also throughout the event, that's what gets updated. That's what you can have in your hand on your phone that'll tell you the next time you play, when your opponent, finish their match, tell you tons of information, notifications on friends, family. If you're not at the event, but you want to know how they're doing, it's going to be through CompuSport. So make sure you download that. And any questions, concerns about that, we're happy to help on site. We're also happy to help beforehand. Again, preparedness, getting you guys ready to go. If you have questions on that stuff, we're happy to help.
All right, so download the CompuSport app and just know that about 2 days before the very first event, which is the first event, Bill? What event starts this year's
It's going
Pool
to
Player
be
Championship?
our eight
Eight
ball
Ball
classic
Classic.
and 9 ball doubles.
All right,
Yes.
so 2 days before the 8 Ball Classic and 9 Ball doubles, hopefully all the brackets will come out for the entire event, and you can start getting an idea for when you might have some windows of time to sightsee or do all the cool things that Vegas has to offer, or play minis, right? If you can get
Yeah.
signed up for minis, I know that's what most people kind of want to know.
Yeah,
Um,
if you dive deep enough into the brackets, you can find those holes in your schedule where win, lose, however it goes, you're going to have a block of time free, right? And that's a huge benefit to be able to look forward into the bracket and map out your trip because it's not just about the tournament, although it's the most important thing for us, but for everybody going out there, it's the experience too, right? And that gives you the opportunity to plan that experience outside of just the tournament you're going to be playing in.
All right, so folks, there are a few things you can be doing right now to prepare for your trip. Again, we talked about being prepared usually lends itself to having a more enjoyable experience, but making sure you're registered through member services, bookmarking or downloading the event program and kind of looking through there, especially for your own event. Know what the dress code says, that kind of stuff. Downloading the CompuSport app and knowing that 2 days before the 8 Ball Classic and 9 Ball Shootout start, you can start to consume that information. And then, I guess it comes down to packing, Bill, right? That's the other thing people got to do. Um, the things that I usually tell people as far as packing, obviously comfortable shoes. Vegas is a place where you're going to walk everywhere. You're going to walk, a long way at the airport. You're going to walk a long way at the hotel. You're going to walk a long way, down the strip. There's lots of walking. So bring comfortable shoes. Usually tell people to bring a jacket or a hoodie because whereas it may be very warm out, I was looking at the forecast already, Bill. It looks like during the day, even in late April, early May, it's looking like it's could be in the 90s during the day, but it drops down into the 60s at night
Yeah.
with
Yeah, it's still
winds
spring.
sometimes that are 25, 30 miles an hour. So, and the casinos, the tournament room are generally cooler. So have a light jacket, a hoodie, something besides just a t-shirt, I think will do
Yeah.
you
In
well.
the in that environment, Jason, so as we know, when all the bodies are in there, when the mass of people are there kind of throughout that thick part of the day, the afternoon into the early evening, if it's hot outside, they're going to crank the AC so we're not baking in there. But when they do that, takes a while for it to warm back up even after they turn it off. And so it can get a little chilly, especially as the room thins out, right? As play starts to wind down for the day. And more than one person has been sitting in the room wishing they had a jacket, our staff included. So definitely bring something warm to wear. But kind of as you said, I mean, you don't really know in Vegas this time of year. It's kind of like we're in St. Louis, kind of like here, it's going to be 65, 70 degrees one day. Next day, it's going to be 40s. I'm not going to say it's going to be that extreme, but we've seen it that extreme in Vegas. So just make sure you're paying attention to the weather report, right? And bringing kind of a uh, versatile wardrobe with
Yeah,
you.
don't just bring shorts. Do not just bring shorts, especially in the
No, don't
evenings.
bring just shorts.
You might have an evening where it's 60 degrees with 20-mile-an-hour winds and you'd be cold. Trust me, I've been there. All right, so dress code stuff. What do people need to know about the dress code? Because I know it's very important and I know it's covered in the event program. And all of you folks are going to look at the event program and digest what it says about the dress code. However, for those one percenters that don't read all the things, Bill's going to tell you what you need to know about the dress code.
All right. So for everybody, um, the following items are not allowed: house shoes or slippers, no muscle shirts, non-billiard related jerseys. This would be baseball, basketball, football, any of the other sports. Halter tops, midriffs, backless. Sorry, Jason, on that one. Or racerback apparel. No gym shorts, sweatpants, short shorts above mid thigh, sagging pants, the usual kind of stuff. No clothing, stickers, insignias, colors, visible tattoos that indicate membership in or affiliation with a gang or similar organization, right? Make sure that stuff's covered up and don't wear clothes, you know, that that promote that. No clothing with profanity or sexually suggestive material, right? Unfortunately, every year it seems like got to deal with somebody with that on. Not appropriate. And then make sure your stuff's in good shape. No stains, holes, rips, tears, that kind of thing. We realize some of the stuff's fashionable, right? But there is a level where it goes past fashion just into
Too much exposure
not
of body.
fashion, too much exposure of the body,
Yeah,
which is always going to be something that we have to address. We're there to play pool,
right.
that there are enough distractions in Vegas, enough distractions in the tournament room. We don't need dress code to be one of those. So that's the basic rule. Don't wear anything distracting or off-putting. We are going to take pictures, we're going to take videos, we're going to do all this stuff. We want to be represented well. We want you to be represented well. So please, please, please read the dress code, right? And I would say for the majority of the tournament, for most of the play in the rooms, it's pretty laxed, right? As far as dress code, we understand that you want to be comfortable, you want to play. It's not as heightened, right? Um, as long as it's not offensive for the most part, you're going to be okay, right? That's all going to change though if you make it to the Pool Dog Championship arena. If you make it to the Pool Dog Championship arena, we take the dress code a notch above, right? It's even more important to us because we really are highlighting that through the live streams, through the photos, through the videos. And so in that room, we're very specific. The attire for the semifinal and final matches is nice casual. That means you can wear slacks, polo shirts, team shirts, if applicable for our doubles participants, and shoes or sandals in good taste, right? Now, you notice before in the regular tournament, I said all the things that you can't wear. When we get to the Pool Dog Championship arena, we're going to tell you what you can, right? We're not going to leave it to chance. So please, please, please pay attention to that. Make sure you pack appropriately. If you don't pack because you don't think you're going to make it there, you start climbing up that ladder, right? You're making it through the tournament. Better start considering that run to Ross Dress for Less or or wherever around town that you can go find this stuff because it is going to be required.
Yeah, pack a pair of slacks and a polo shirt if you are playing in an event that you think you might make it to the final day. And the reason for that, Bill touched on this, but he touched on a lot of stuff, is because when you get into that arena on the final day, there's only 4 teams left, right? So lots of photography is being taken, lots of video is being shot. When we get into the final match, the championship match, it's being live streamed, which goes not only to our Facebook page, not only to our YouTube channel, but now our like our Amazon Fire platform and our Roku platform. So lots of eyeballs, and we're all in this together. We're all trying to legitimize the sport, make the sport, look impressive, which we believe it is, and for the rest of the world. And so, we look for you to step it up a little bit when you're in that room, and so hopefully you guys take that advice and prepare accordingly.
Yep, that's a good point, Jason. All eyes are on you, you know. So be mindful of it. We'll hear about it, and then we have to do something about it. And unfortunately, we don't want to have to forfeit anybody because of dress code. It's the worst reason to forfeit somebody ever, but we will do it. We are that serious. So just make sure you dress appropriately.
All right, so there you go. So talking a little bit about packing, obviously the cue is an important item. Most people are going to travel out there with their favorite pool cue or cues, maybe a few cues. Um, you cannot carry your pool cue onto the airplane as much as you might like to. We've heard stories of some people carrying them on and getting through, but for the most part, your best bet is probably going to be to throw that cue stick inside your bigger suitcase. In its case, wrap it up nice and tight and make sure it's good in there, with your clothes, right? And it's going to have to go underneath the plane. You're going to have to check your bag if you're flying out. I know there's a FedEx store at the Westgate, Bill. I assume folks, if they really wanted, could potentially ship their cue out to Vegas. I don't know how many people do
Absolutely.
that, but there is a FedEx store on site at the Westgate.
Yeah, you can ship to that, and the address would be on the Westgate's website, right? Or you can go to FedEx and look for the location at the Westgate. You can do that. It's not the cheapest way to go about it, right? I would tend to agree with you, Jason. The best way is to plan to have one of your bags that you're checking, right? Throw it in there with the rest of your stuff and make sure that it gets out there safe. There are some services you can find too. I know I've come across them for golf clubs and things like that that you can ship out, and they'll ship out other things for you, specialty items. But again, it's not going to be as affordable as just taking it on the airplane with you. And then at least you know where it's at during that time and who to ask if the thing doesn't show up where it needs to be at the time it's supposed to be there, right? Go to the airline, talk to them about it. But it is a big deal. Everybody's got to have one for the event. If for some reason you don't, we've got a ton of vendors that'll be happy to sell you a new one.
Yeah.
But we prefer that you make it out there with the queue that you want and the queue that you already have.
Yeah, so again, you cannot carry your cue case and your cue onto the plane. Can't sit with you on the plane. You need to pack it in a bag that gets checked and goes underneath the plane. And again, most people just are going to pack it in a bigger suitcase with their clothes and the other things they're taking out there. So make sure you plan accordingly as far as the queue goes. The other thing on the packing list, Bill, that I wanted to touch on is face masks. So much has been happening with the masks, especially these last couple days. Um, Las Vegas, of course, when we were there last year at our events, if you were there, you would have been required to be playing or wearing a mask if you weren't shooting, depending on when you were there. But for the most part, like they were
Yeah.
pretty strict about the masks. The good news is, or at least if that didn't jive with you, having to wear a mask, there is no more masks indoor in Las Vegas, so you're not required to wear a mask in the casino. You're not required to wear a mask in the tournament room. But some changes in the last couple days. Federal, the judge in Florida ruled that the I don't remember all the logistics, but basically the ruling was that they're no longer required on airplanes. And I think most of the major carriers went out and basically said, hey, yeah, we're not requiring it anymore. I think most of the airports followed suit. But you're going to want to check locally, I think, with your airport. Like I know Philadelphia maybe went back to some masking, or so there's some exceptions, and you're going to want to check. But here's my advice, right? And Bill, if you disagree, you can tell me. But I'm going to pack a couple masks just in case I get somewhere where they're like, you got to have a mask on. Because the other thing, and I know we need to mention this, is if something should change in Las Vegas, right, during the event where suddenly they're like, got to have a mask indoors, and that's the local rule, right? That's like the local ordinance or law or whatever you want to call it. We will have to stand by that, right? So even though you don't probably aren't going to need the mask, you should go ahead and pack one. I think just to be better safe than sorry, right?
Yeah, Jason, I'll second that. COVID taught us anything, it's that things change. They change quickly. Sometimes they change in the middle of our events, right? And we've been through this a couple times. The best thing to do is be prepared in case they do change and know 100% what our stance is. Our stance is we will follow the local ordinances or any mandates that come down. We have to. We're doing business in Nevada. Those ordinances and mandates apply to businesses that are operating in Nevada. They can shut down businesses for not following those. We are not going to risk everybody's experience because people are feel inconvenient about wearing a mask or the politics of it, all that stuff. That does not matter to us. That's not going to factor in. The most important thing for us is to run a successful event. That means you got to do it start to finish, right? And to do it start to finish, that means we got to follow the rules, like it or not. So right now, no mask at the event. That could change, right? It could change. So as Jason said, be prepared.
Yeah, it
Be
could it
prepared
could
for
change,
anything.
but I mean, we don't right now. I mean, we don't anticipate that is going to
No,
change, right? Like
no.
the likelihood is you will be able to go from wherever you are to Las Vegas, have a great time in Vegas, and never be asked to put on a mask as of right now,
Yeah, I'll say, yeah, the
as of today.
volatility last year was
Much
heightened.
greater, yeah.
Let's say much greater. greater in August than it was whenever we did the event in October. Even less now, but still gotta, kind of consider it, right?
Yeah, so do
And
yourself
especially
a
with the
favor.
airlines because they are up and down right now.
Yeah, we still got a couple of weeks or just less than a couple of weeks, and you never know what might happen in between now and then. So stay apprised of the news as best you can. Throw a mask or two in your pocket, and that way, if you happen to need it, you need it. But you're prepared, right? And again, if there's a theme here to this live stream, it's that being prepared is going to help you have a better experience in Las Vegas.
Jason, I do want to touch on one other thing too. For those of you that want to wear a mask, right? You feel safer, you feel more comfortable in wearing a mask. And even though APA is not enforcing a mask policy at the event, we encourage everybody who feels safer by wearing a mask to do so, right? And to do so comfortably, right? Without any harassment or any other issues that might come along with it. If you want to wear a mask, you can absolutely wear a mask at the event. We encourage you to do so. Whatever you need to do to feel more comfortable in the space and get ready for your games, that's the stage we're trying to set for you. So by all means, wear the mask if you want to.
Yeah, and I'm sure you will. I mean, I have no doubt we will see people with masks, in all different
100%.
capacities, whether it's on the airplane, at the airport, in the tournament room. I'm sure some of our staff will be wearing them, just out of comfort level. And again, that's going to be everybody's going to respect that, whatever somebody decides to do for their own personal safety. But as of right now, like we said, masks are not required, and we don't anticipate that will change, but it always could, right? If we've learned anything from COVID, it's that things can change very quickly. So, I don't really have anything else on the packing list, Bill. Is there anything else you want to mention? We talked about dress code, comfortable shoes, light jacket, masks.
I think we nailed it. I think that's it.
You're all
Right?
packed. You ready to
It's the
go?
important stuff. Halfway packed.
Yeah,
I'm out there for 2.5 weeks, so half my stuff's on a truck heading for Vegas right now. The other half will be getting on a plane on Saturday.
it's funny how much my closet shrinks when I go to Vegas because it's like 12 days. It's like half my closet goes out there. All right. So we've talked about packing and preparing. One thing I do want to mention before we move further into this is at the end, after we get through everything we want to talk about, we will take some questions. If any questions come in through the chat, they're going to filter them to us, and we'll try to go through some questions. If you happen to catch this live stream later after it's no longer live, you can still throw a question in there, and eventually we'll get around to getting in there and responding to all of them. But just want to let you guys know that as well. So we've talked about packing. Now let's talk about, arriving in Las Vegas. When you arrive in Las Vegas, and we're assuming most people are flying. Most people do fly to Vegas for our events. When you get to McCarran Airport, that's the airport in Las Vegas. You're gonna go pick up your bags if you checked a bag, or you're gonna head to that direction anyway. But you're gonna have to figure out transportation of how to get from the airport to the Westgate Hotel, which is probably a 20-minute, if there's not a bunch of traffic, about a 20-minute drive. Pretty simple drive. Uh, and there are different options, right, to do that. Of course, there's taxi cabs, just like anywhere else. You can hop in a cab, and again, it's going to be about $20-$25. Um, an Uber, you can take an Uber as well. Uh, it's a different pickup spot, but you can take an Uber. It's very popular. And again, I think you'll find this is going to vary depending on the time of day you arrive, but probably $20-$25 to get from the airport to the Westgate. There are shuttles. You can get on a shuttle with multiple people going to different properties on the Las Vegas Strip, and they're just going to drop off at different hotels. That will save you a few bucks if you choose to do it that way. It's going to take longer though to do it
Yeah.
that way. So depending on your level of patience, and again, you may save, especially if you're traveling alone. I could see that maybe being a better option. If it's just you, but if you're traveling with other people, you're probably going to want to do the cab or the Uber. Um, just because if you're splitting costs, it's going to be it's going to be about the same. So, and then there are limousines at the airport. A lot of
Oh, yeah.
times you can grab a limo for 70-80 bucks to take you to if you want to do it, celebrate it up, and start your trip off on a good note. You're going to pay $70 or $80 to go about a 20-minute ride, but you can do that as well.
That's not a bad gig if you got a ton of people, right? You're coming in and you're traveling with a bunch and you want that experience of getting a limo. But you're right. If you're one person, unless you really just like the limo ride, I would stick to the taxis, the cabs, or the shuttle. Right. Um, what we did notice last year was there were a little bit of shortages with Ubers. Right. Labor shortage. And we're not, not entirely sure, but that seemed like that was the cause. I'm not exactly sure where Vegas is at now. I would imagine it's better. One thing I did note though was that the lines for those and the people standing there waiting for Ubers was quite a bit longer and slower than it was for the cabs the last time we were out there. So something to pay attention to, and maybe something we can after we get on the ground, get boots there, kind of inform everybody of what the scene kind of looks like, so that you guys can be prepared for that.
Yeah, my hope is that Vegas looks a lot more normal, and it was pretty normal when we were out there, in October. But
It was pretty close. Yeah,
in terms of capacity of workers, hopefully it's much closer. I know the NFL draft is the weekend before we get there, so I'm sure the town is going to be buzzing
it's
and
gonna
people will
be.
be
Yeah,
working and doing their thing. So, but you are going to need to find transportation from the airport to the hotel. Don't try to walk. It
don't
is a
walk it.
it is a long, unsafe walk. It is not meant to be walked, so don't do it.
Nothing
Um,
is right over there. Even though
yeah,
I wouldn't say the Westgate looks like it's right over there from the airport. It looks like it's pretty good ways away. Um, but we knew a guy who tried to walk it one time, and it takes a real long time, and it wasn't advisable.
yeah, and it certainly would not be the safest walk. So again, plan for transportation. Um, Upon arrival in Vegas, or not in Vegas, but at the Westgate, right? When you get to the Westgate, assuming you're staying at the Westgate, I think for this event, most people do stay at the Westgate because we're
The majority,
putting all of
yes.
our 8 ball classic and 9 ball shootout people in rooms. You're going to want to check in at the hotel. You walk into the Westgate, the front door of the Westgate, and the hotel check-in is to your left. Now, if you take an Uber to the Westgate, sometimes they're dropping off around back or on the side on the I think it's the west side, east side. Well, it's on the side of
East
the
side.
building, and you have to kind of make your way back towards the front of the property to check in. So just kind of be aware of where you're coming in at. But again, hotel checkout is not hard to find. But I would suggest doing that, especially if the line is not long when you arrive. I would check in immediately because that line sometimes does fill up. And again, that's not uncommon to see in Vegas, right? Generally, there are probably 5, 6, maybe 8 check in people. So it does move quicker than you might think. But again, kind of
But still,
expectation wise, plan for there to maybe be a
yeah,
little bit of a line. Maybe grab a drink at the bar before you get in the line, or a tall boy at
you
the
can do that.
gift at the gift shop and stand in line and
Which are
make some
both
friends.
right there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if it
yeah,
looks like a line, but again, make the best of the situation, and I think
yeah,
you'll be
definitely hop
happier.
in that line, and if it is super long, you're not in a hurry. You can wait for more of a downtime, right? There are definitely downtimes where there are less flights coming in. You could see that that line drops. But if you can get in it, you can go ahead and get checked in. Do it. They may not have your room ready, right? It might not be immediately available, but you can drop your bags with the bell desk, and you can go enjoy yourself. Take the personal items that you absolutely need, go enjoy yourself, go enjoy lunch, look around, go see what's there to see, and then come back for those later, whenever your room's available. So that's what I do most of the time because I'm flying in there pretty early, and it's very rare that my room's ready whenever I get
Yeah,
there. So
the like you said, the earlier you arrive,
yeah,
the less likely your room will be available. If you're getting there in the late, the mid to late afternoon, better chance that your room will be available. But like you said, take advantage of the bag check if because it is a good idea once you are settled or checked in, check out the property, see where you're at, figure out where the tournament room is, figure out where the restaurants are. Go check out the pool. They got a great pool at the Westgate. Just kind of get a sense for your surroundings, right? Know where the gift shop is if you need to grab something. And that way, don't just head out of the casino, come back bombed that night, go to bed, and then wake up and try to rush to something the next day. You're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to know where you need to go. So again, it all comes down to being prepared and planning properly. So
yeah, it's a big place. There's a lot to see, right? And it's better to go ahead and get that mapped out. Now, if you do come down to the tournament rooms, say you're arriving before the event actually kicks off, that day before we do the opening ceremonies with the 8 ball classic, 9 ball doubles, you can come down to the tournament space. probably not going to be able to get into the rooms, right? That's we're still setting, we're still getting things ready. But we do have our event information booth available there. So if you can find that, then they'll be able to tell you where exactly you need to go for your event starting the next day, right? Then after that, we're wide open. The space is available to anybody that wants to come down and check it out. If you ever have any questions regarding where to go, who to see, where your table's at, stop by that APA information booth, right? They're going to be your first line to figure out where you need to go. They'll be happy to help. That's what they're there for.
Nice. So as we get into the kind of the tournament side of this preview, Bill, I was looking at some numbers before we got on here today. It looks like we've got, I don't know, 20, almost 2,800 participants. And that's just for the 5 main events. That doesn't take into account people that come in just to play Mini Mania. 825,000, I think I saw in terms of the prize money. So it's, it's funny when you think about it that it's the smaller of the 2 events we do out there, but it's still probably the second largest pool tournament in the world to be at. So, what do you want the folks to know about specifically about the tournament? What do they need to know that we haven't already covered, I should say?
Well, we covered a lot of it with the online registration. That's going to be the biggest thing. Again, online register. That takes care of your registration process. You don't have to check in. You don't have to do anything. You just need to go to your first match, right? Show up at the table. Um, Outside of that, though, if you do have to late register, find out where the late registration desk is. It'll be noted on the map that's inside the event program, right? We'll also be able to direct you there from the event information booth. If you're a singles player, 8 ball classic, 9 ball shootout, something you're going to want to do before you leave is pick up your travel assistance, right? For getting out there. Yeah, get paid, as well as your goodie bags. Now, the goodie bags go for everybody. Singles, we know they get a little bit more. It's harder qualification to get there. There's, you know, differences in that program besides our showdown series events, which would be our 8 ball doubles, 9 ball doubles, and our wheelchair. But we've got goodie bags for you too. Find out where that desk is, right? Where you're going to pick that up and the times that it will be open. The cool thing about it is now that registration's taken care of online, you don't have to stand in a line to register, pick up all that stuff before you play. Those lines were long, right? A few hundred people at a time, all trying to do the same thing within a, time frame. Now we don't have that. We've got our online registration, and with our travel assistance and our goodie bag pickups, those are broader ranges of time, and you can go pick that up at your leisure, right? You don't have to pick it up before your match starts. So if you make it to the travel assistance line and you see that it's absolutely crazy, right? But the thing's going to be open for another 3 hours. You've got the option of just coming back after 3 hours and picking it up. You do not have to stand in those lines, right? The one thing that we will ask is please pick it up before you leave Vegas. I'm shocked at the amount of people that don't come and pick up their money. This is both for travel assistance, and this also for a cash payout for players that actually finish high enough to make money. Oh yeah, Jason, you'd be
That's
shocked at the amount
interesting.
of
That
people
surprises me.
that leave Vegas without picking up their cash. So 100% pay attention to those times in the event program. Please come during those times, whichever period works the best for you. But please come and pick up your stuff. We want you to have it. We don't want to go home with it and then have to ship it back out or send out a check or something. We'd rather you have that money with you uh, for the rest of your stay or for traveling back home.
Interesting. Yeah, that
So
one definitely surprises me.
yeah, it's kind of shocking. Another thing we would like to note is we do have tournament directors posted all over, right? We've got tournament directors at most of our major control tables. Identify where those control tables are, and if you've got questions regarding skill levels, regarding eligibility, regarding rules, maybe there's something on site that you're seeing that doesn't jive. It shouldn't be happening. Maybe it's a sportsmanship issue. Maybe it's something else. Maybe a table is just completely out of whack. Something like that, right? make sure you know where the tournament directors are so that you can direct your questions to them, right? That's what they're there to do. They're there to help you and to make the tournament experience be as pleasurable as possible. So when it comes to skill levels, eligibility, and those kinds of things, our tournament directors are the ones that have to answer those. So if you show up at event information and there's not a tournament director available there, you'll be directed to one by our event information staff, right? So they're going to get you to a tournament director. And probably the most important thing with a tournament, um, well, let me back up. I don't have to get into a ton with the actual tournament play and play on the tables, right? That's going to be covered in the players meeting videos, which every player is responsible for watching. Those are posted on poolplayers.com. Also, the rules. You have to be familiar with the rules, right? You have to know what the rules are. So familiarize yourself with those. Those are in the event program, also on poolplayers.com. Um, but if you have any questions on any of that stuff, those have to be directed to that tournament director. They will get you the answers for those and walk you through that. If you happen to talk to one of our tournament officials before then, though, right, we have referees. They're actually watching the games, hit calls, watching shots, general questions about the rules, whatever else. That's our referees are your first people you're going to ask. That's actually if you're in a match, right? The next level up is our floor managers. Our floor managers oversee all of the referees. They're who our referees go to if they've got a question about a rule, question about a situation. They see something that isn't driving, right? They're going to go to the floor manager. We encourage the players that if you don't like what you've heard from a referee or you don't agree with it, you think it's wrong. Everybody's human, right? We'd rather get the answer right. So if you don't think that that's right from the referee, ask to talk to a floor manager. The floor manager will speak to you. They'll go through whatever the situation is with you, try to walk you through it, and have a solution. If for some reason you still don't agree with the floor manager, ask for that tournament director. The tournament director is going to be the last person you're going to speak to before you're speaking to somebody like me, an event supervisor. And that means that the situation got pretty serious, right? It may be a completely unique situation or something, but up until you talk to the event supervisor, you haven't heard the final word. If you really disagree, we'd rather you hear the final word than just accept what you heard and didn't agree with, walk away, right? And then come back later when maybe the match is over. Maybe the outcome's already set and we can't do anything to rectify the situation, to correct the situation. Because I'll just go back to what I said a couple of seconds ago. We're human. Mistakes do happen. Or referees, they're great. They know the rules, but it's sports, right? We see bad calls happen in every sport. We would rather try to get it corrected immediately than to find out about it after the match is over and complete. There's not much we can do once the match is over, right? We want to know about it then. So if you still disagree, ask to speak to somebody else. Ask to speak to somebody else. That's the biggest key. We just hear way too much of it where somebody just accepted it. And the worst ones, Jason, are when they just accept it from a fellow player without ever actually asking a referee
Wow.
in the first place. So don't just trust your fellow players. I love you guys, whatever else. But if you really have a situation going on, go to a tournament official and keep asking until you talk to that last line in the tournament official category. Right.
Yeah, just be cordial, keep your cool, right? Be respectful. I mean, it's, we're all in the same, trying to get to the same goal, which is a fair and even tournament for everybody. And like you said,
100%.
sometimes mistakes happen. The referees, be nice to the referees, not because you want a favorable call, but because they're league members just like you guys, that have volunteered to come out and work. They're put through testing to make sure they're, as familiar with the rules as they possibly can be. But it's a hard gig. I mean, you're on the front line of the tournament for hours on end, for days at a time. And, when you get called in to make a call, I mean, that's kind of a stressful situation, right? Somebody's not going to be happy one way or another.
It can be.
And you're doing that over and over and over and over. So just be nice to the referees. They, again, even if they happen to make a bad call, there's always somebody else you can talk to. But just be polite, right? Doesn't hurt
Yes.
to be
Yeah, I
polite.
think that's the biggest thing. And something that I stress, while we're at the event, that we are truly there to help you, right? We're truly there to help the players, and we want the correct decision, the correct outcome to occur, right? That doesn't mean that a player is always going to agree. Or, if you're out there, it doesn't mean that you're always going to get the answer that you want, but just know that we're striving to get the right answer for the situation. And if pool teaches us anything, it's that you've never seen it all. You've never seen it all. So every tournament we have, we run into a situation that we haven't encountered before. It can be very unique. So, um, again, patience with us, right? We're there to help you and help everybody. And just because it may not go your way, just know that that same thought process is applied to everyone throughout the event.
Yeah, I was, one of the things I've noticed the last few years, Bill, is how many folks now are live streaming their matches in the
Mhm.
tournament room. I mean, you'll walk down the rows and people are set up live streaming almost, it seems like almost every table, which is awesome. And we encourage you guys to do that if you'd like. But what are the rules for that, Bill? Like if you and I are getting ready to play a match in the 8 Ball Classic and I want to live stream, what has to happen for that to be okay?
We want players in this case, since it is the singles championship as well as 8 ball doubles, 9 ball doubles. We want the players or teams to at least talk to each other about it first and get an agreement in place, right? I talked about the waiver earlier, essentially, that you're signing off on during registration, all those rules. Well, one of those is our ability to photograph and use your likeness and whatever else. That's not necessarily a broad comparison to everybody in the room. So if somebody really doesn't want you to video their match, we're going to not allow you to video the match, right? That's just going to be the way that it is. Now, we want to make sure that it's for good reasons, that it's you know, established beforehand, that it was agreed upon. If something changes, somebody changes their mind about it, we'll address that because you do have to watch out for sportsmanship things and that type. But for the most part, I think everybody's pretty cool with it now. When we first started seeing phones pop up in the videos and whatever else, we had a lot more issues with people being like, I don't want to be videoed or whatever else. Now it's kind of ubiquitous to the tournament. You see it so much. Um, that I think most people are kind of used to it. And if you're playing your game, there shouldn't be any real issues to the videoing of it. But again, we want the best experience for everybody in the room. And if somebody really doesn't want that video being taken of them during that time, then we're going to have you not take the video. So just ask them. Most people are cool, you know. They don't mind having a video of themselves out there on the internet playing pool. You know, just make sure you check first.
All right, so there you go, and prepare, right? Like, get a little stand for your phone, and so you're not having to
Yeah,
build things to stack and it might get knocked over. Um, there is no, I don't think there's any
it-
Wi-Fi in there, so if you're going to stream it, you're going to stream it through your provider, so you
through
should be
data.
aware of that.
Yes.
And the other thing I was going to mention, Bill, are two things actually. The finals, the championship rounds of all five of our big events. Well, really, it's more like 12 because the 8 Ball Classic and 9 Ball each have their own championships within them. But we are going to live stream the championships of all five of those events. And so you will not be permitted in those cases to stream with your phone. Semi
You
up through
also won't be permitted
semifinals.
to say, yeah, you also won't be permitted to say you don't want to be videoed for those matches. You will 100% be
Yeah.
videoed by us for those matches.
Yeah, so that's for the finals. But if you happen to be in the semifinals, which we don't stream because usually we're getting ready for the finals, you're welcome to live stream that as well, as assuming your opponent is okay with it. And but the other thing I was going to mention is make sure you hashtag APA Vegas when you do that, and make your settings for that video at least public so more people can see that. Right? It's kind of nice. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many people like to just watch pool and anything happening from Vegas. It's great. So try to get some eyeballs on it. If you're going to do it well, right? So, but just
That's
kind
right.
of know those are some of the rules on the streaming because it has become very very popular, and we're all for it. We are definitely all for it. What else, Bill? Tournament related, can you tell the folks that they need to know? I mean, we've covered dress code, we've covered registration, you've talked about rules, live
Practice.
streaming,
I guess we
practice
could talk about
tables.
practice. We have tried to provide practice tables prior to the start of every single event, right? At least in some capacity. And what I mean by that is there's not necessarily a time where every single table is open for practice, except on the very first day of the event, right? Before any of the tournaments have kicked off. And then each morning, we have a period of time, roughly about an hour, sometimes as long as 2 hours, where there are tables available. Starts off with all the tables, and as we start play, it starts dwindling down. Now, as tournaments finish, more tables open. We close down arenas for practice so that people, or what I mean by that is, we will close the table so that it's dollar per game, which is what the practice fee is. The rest of the events are they're open, exception of Mini Mania. You do have to pay $1 per game for Mini Mania. Got to cover our table guys. They like to get paid too. Um, but we do have practice. There are points in time though where we are literally using every single table in the tournament space for tournaments. So during those times, there isn't necessarily practice available to you. There is no practicing between matches while rounds are going. So last thing we want is somebody that's actually playing for something to be next to somebody who's not. The person playing for something or the people playing for something are taking it very serious most of the time. The practice person may not. They can be a distraction, right? They could interfere. We do not want any of our main tournament play to be honestly subjected to that type of interference or distraction. So just know there isn't practice between rounds. You may walk in before your round and see that every single table in that particular room is empty. And you may wonder why we're not going to allow practice. That's because it's only going to be empty for a couple minutes. And then we're going to send everybody back out to those tables. So if you're curious as to whether or not there are practice tables available, one, check the event program. We do have time set aside every single day with the areas where those tables will be available. The second thing, though, as we're going along, we will close down arenas. Go check with the tournament director or with the control captains up on the control stages, and they will let you know if any of the arenas are available for practice. So just ask.
And is there a practice room like we have on the other side of the foyer? Is that going to be open?
Traditionally, no, but I have been in talks with our table provider, High Country, and we're looking into options as to putting in additional tables. What people need to understand is this singles championship we're using 300 and I think 330 tables. It's not a small ask out of them, but they believe that they may be able to provide more tables somewhere close to the start of the event. If so, and we can get that going, certainly we'd love to have more tables at the event. So
All right.
that's to be determined, though.
All right. So that's good info on practice tables. What about Mini Mania? I know you said the schedule for Mini Mania is in the event program, but just talk a little bit about how you get signed up for Mini Mania, kind of what the expectations should be on playing in a Mini Mania event.
All right. Well, Jason, let me pull up the event program real quick here because I do not want to misspeak
And if
on
you're
the.
looking for the event program, folks, again, you can go to poolplayers.com. You go to the tournament section. You go to the Pool Player Championships, and as you scroll down, you'll see an icon that says Event Program. I know we just sent out an email, I think it was today or yesterday, that had a bunch of frequently asked questions. That also is included on that page, and that email will link you to the event program. We'll be continuing to push that out on social media. So it shouldn't be hard to find. But again, we talked at the outset of this. You do want to review that information and be as familiar as you can with the stuff that applies to you.
Yes. So I specifically wanted to go to the rules because with COVID, we did change the rules some from our traditional eligibility requirements, and that had to do with leagues shutting down and coming back online, and we didn't want people to not be able to participate in Mini Mania simply because they weren't allowed to play pool for a year. Um, so some of it has changed. Most of it remains the same if you've been out there before, but there have been a few, I won't say minor changes, they're kind of big changes, but that is the reason. So with Mini Mania, the tables, it's $1 per game if you get into Mini Mania. So expect to be hitting that coin changer and getting some cash for those. These are 100% payback though. So if you pay an entry, a $20 entry into the event, seven other people do as well, right? So eight people paying $20, $160, $160 getting paid right back to the event participants, right? First or second place. So we don't keep any of that money. Um, so when it comes to signing up and eligibility for Mini Mania, all participants must have at least 20 scores in one format. That would be 8 ball or 9 ball. And this is where the big change comes in, Jason. Those 20 scores have to be within the last 4 years. Previously, it would have been in the last 2 years, but because leagues went offline, coming back online, and we want to encourage people to go back out and enjoy the game that they love and they come out and play with us, um, last 4 years. So we don't take 10 scores in 8 ball, 10 scores in 9 ball to count. It's got to be 20 in 8 ball to be eligible for 8 ball, 20 in 9 ball to be eligible for 9 ball. All right, there is a cutoff date. I won't get into all of that. You guys can definitely click on the link on the event program to find out that information. But that's where it starts. If you're an active league member, you've got those scores. All you need to do is have cash in hand, stand in line, right? And sign up for an event that fits your skill level or skill level range. So these events are typically segmented down into um, twos, threes, and fours, maybe a bracket, right? Fours, fives, maybe a bracket. Six, sevens, eights, nines, sixes through nines. There's a bunch of variants there, depending on the format, depending on that particular event. They also range between being 8-person events, 16-person events, 32-person events. We got all those, and they have varying ranges of entry fees. But again, you got the scores, right? You got an event open that's your skill level range. You go up to the registration desk, you sign up for that event, you're in it. And it's literally what it sounds like. It's a mini tournament, right? Single elimination. And typically it's first, second place, that are going to get the payouts for those. So it's really cool. Some people come out just to do Mini Mania. Tons of people do. Again, I won't bore everybody with all of the individual specific rules. Definitely read up on those, but I can tell you, Jason, it's probably, I mean, the big tournaments are awesome, but Mini Mania is a whole nother animal and definitely a huge benefit to our membership base. So you want to just come out to the tournament and you fit this criteria, come on out, right? Sign up for some minis, have a good time.
And do we have the Mega Mania? Are we doing Mega Mania events,
Oh
which are like minis
yeah.
but bigger, right? More people.
Yes. So the Mega Mania, we introduced this last August. It's a thing with tournaments. I kind of talked about it a little bit ago, where as we're playing down, as people are getting eliminated from the events, you start to have huge chunks of tables available, right? Because you're cutting the field in half each time. So you had 64 players or teams. Now you got 32, then 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. As that starts to happen, more tables become available. Sometimes so much that there's more than you need for practice. So we started looking at these tables and try to develop a product that would utilize those and then also give an opportunity to the players that had been eliminated, give them another opportunity to play in something slightly larger scale, right? With slightly higher payouts at a time when they're now eliminated. Sometimes the mini mania events are already full. The Mega Mania allows for more people to participate in another event when we've got honestly the table inventory, the time, and the manpower to administer those events. So they are doubles. There's a variance on the events and what they actually entail, again, go out to the event program, check those out. But they're all 64-1, single elimination. So with the minis, kind of caps at 32. These are 64, $100 entry, and we pay out to the top 25% of the field. Again, it's 100% payback, but it's going to go that top 25%. So first place prize money for a full bracket's $1,100. So not a bad gig, and it seems pretty popular. We've been filling them up. So as we get more tables available, we just keep trying to give an opportunity to the players to shoot some pool, have a little bit of fun, win some money.
Awesome. So a lot to look forward to, Bill. Is there anything else that you want to mention about the tournament? We're about an hour, a little over an hour deep in this, so I know we want to take some Q&A. Is there anything else you want to mention about the tournament itself?
Have fun, right? Come out there. If you haven't been out there, it's like nothing you've ever seen. If you have been out there, we try to improve upon it, make it a better experience each time you come out. But that all starts with the individual, right? And what the expectations are. There's only going to be one winner in each of our events. There's only one person that walks home with the biggest prize. To us, that's important. Champions are important, but we want to make sure that everybody that competes in these has a good experience all the way through, and that starts with the attitude that we're all out there to have fun, and we're running the thing, but the players that are coming are playing in the game that they love, right? Enjoy the experience for what it is. It is unique, and if you come in with that mindset that you're there to have a good time, you will. You'll have very, very good time.
Yeah, and I think that mindset carries over to the experience of getting there and getting set up out there because, you know, again, when you're leaving from home to go to the airport, to get on an airplane, to go to another airport, to get in a cab, to get to the hotel, to get checked in, there's a lot of things along the way that can be an obstacle or a hiccup, whether it's a delay or took longer than you'd like, or maybe even you missed something here or there. But I think if you go into it with the right mindset of being flexible, going with the flow, just kind of appreciating, like you said, the experience that you're on. I think you're going to set yourself up better for success and a good time and an enjoyable experience. So I'm glad you said that. Think that makes a lot of sense. So there you got it, folks. I mean, I don't know that there's much more we can tell you other than event program. Go check out the event program and make sure you're registered online. Again, everyone can now register online through your member services account. That is where you view your stats and your standings and all that good stuff. If you don't have a member services account, set up your member services account and then you can register for your event. So, Bill, there were a few questions that came in. We'll go through real quick. Somebody had asked 8 Ball Classic overlap with 8 Ball doubles. It says, can the 8 Ball Classic overlap with 8 Ball doubles on May 4th?
Can it or does it?
That I don't know. It just says 8 Ball singles overlap with 8 Ball doubles on May 4th. I'm assuming that can be
Uh,
answered by looking at the program guide.
yes.
There's some events where you can play in another event, and there's some events you flat out cannot play in another event.
And there is a reason for that. So there may be a little bit of overlap with so 8 Ball Classics ending on Wednesday, May 4th, right? The 8 Ball doubles starts on Tuesday. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, starts on Wednesday. So at 9 a.m. So let's say you are a player, you are competing in both, which you are allowed to do because there's minimal overlap. There is a chance that if you're making it to the final day for the 8 Ball Classic, it could interfere with your 8 Ball doubles match. We're on top of it, right? We're not going to make you forfeit your 8 Ball doubles match because you're in a semifinal or final. We don't want you worried about that. If you find yourself in that situation, we will find the solution and the workaround for it, right? One of the benefits we have of playing our 8 Ball Classic back to back, right? Our different tiers is we can juggle when those tiers play based on who may be competing in another event, when that round time is. Um, But either way, we'll make sure that you're taken care of, that your opponent is taken care of, and that they understand what's going on. I think everybody understands if you're in the final somewhere and this match over here has to be held up for it. Everybody's pretty cool with that, right? They'd love to have the same opportunity. So when it does come to the overlap events, um, if it's minimal, you're allowed to play in both. If they're right over the top of each other, let's say 8-ball classic, 9-ball doubles, we get this question a lot. Why can't I play in both? Well, because in singles, you have to be at your singles match or you forfeit, right? In just regular play. If you're in 9-ball doubles, there's only two of you. If you're playing in your singles match, there's only one person for your doubles match. You have to forfeit that one. And whenever we're talking about that kind of overlap, there is no scheduling we could do around that, right? If we allowed it, we'd have hundreds of people in this situation where we've got matches that are overlapping each other, and that's just the way that it goes. Otherwise, the event would be like 3 weeks long. So for that reason, we do limit it. But if there is that small overlap, whatever else, we're on top of it. We'll make sure you're taken care of.
Somebody was asking about the 8-ball classic double elimination modified. Well, they said modified double elimination. I'm assuming it's modified single elimination, right? Which means
It
you're
is
guaranteed to
modified single.
play at least twice, not necessarily
Yes,
guaranteed to lose twice, and it just depends on where on the bracket you lose. The later you lose, you may be one and done in that
exactly.
case.
So people say it both ways. Our term is mod. People refer to it as modified double. Um, they're kind of synonymous to me. They're the same thing. Essentially, what they're saying is at a certain point, the event's going to become single elimination. So modified single actually starts off as double elimination for the first 2 rounds or so, right, on the bracket. And then after that, on the front side, it becomes a single elimination. So yeah, if you're just winning out, winning out, winning out, you get far enough into the bracket and lose, you may have only lost once and you're out of the event, right? Where somebody early on might have lost once and they're still in, right? The whole purpose of the bracket is to, one, guarantee everybody 2 chances to play, right? We want to make sure you came all the way out to Vegas. You're going to get at least 2 chances to play. You're not eliminated at the first one, which single elimination would do. Second thing is, double elimination is far too long. Far too long.
Yeah.
People that are trying to get off work and come out there for this week of play that we're going to have, if we did double elimination, they'd have to schedule 2 weeks off to get through the same bracket, or we'd have to make a choice of not taking as many people out to the event. We want to spread the wealth. We want more people to come and enjoy the experience, and modified single is that compromise. So
It's
all of our events,
interesting.
with the exception of Mini Mania, Mega Mania, are modified single.
It's interesting because the modified single, we've been running that way forever. I don't know about forever,
Mhm.
but for as long as you and I can
Before
remember,
my time here,
over
yeah,
a couple
yeah,
decades. Um, and back in the day, that was kind of an anomaly amongst pool tournaments. But now, like I've been, if you notice, a lot of the pro events now have gone to this modified single elimination where you get down to like a knockout phase where if you're at the final,
yep.
16
And
or
it's the same
32 and you
thing.
lose, you're right out. So it's
It's
very
the same thing.
similar.
Their double limb may extend a little bit further, but if at any point they get down to a certain field size and then a single elimination after that, it's modified single. They just carried it out further,
Yeah,
that double elimination portion in the beginning. So, yeah, a lot of them do it because you only have so much time, so much tables, and people's money, right? The longer you're out there, the more expensive it becomes for you.
yeah.
So we want to keep that manageable.
All right. So we had a question about Sid's, which is the coffee shop at the Westgate. Not coffee shop, but the diner, right? We'll call it the diner. And then somebody was asking about the buffet hours. Bill, I'm sure you don't have those hours in front of you. I don't have those hours in front of me. Your best bet on the hours would be to go to the Westgate's website and take a look at what their hours for their restaurants are. I do know Sid's traditionally is only open during the day. I think they close like 5 o'clock or 2 o'clock, or so they're like a breakfast and lunch kind of place. The buffet seems like it's always open for each of the sessions, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but it doesn't stay open of breakfast to dinner. They kind of reset, and then the food
Yeah.
court I think is open that's open almost all day into very late in the evening, which
Pretty
has
much. Yeah.
Mexican place, a pizza and wing place, a burger deli. I mean, so there's quite a few options. You've got some fine dining restaurants with Benihana, Edge Steakhouse, the Italian place. So, and then you've got all the food. What do you call them, Bill? What are
Cash
those
sales.
cash
Yeah,
sales?
they'd
Is
be
what
the
you
cash
call them?
sales that are actually down in the tournament space.
Grab and
Those
go
are
kind of
open.
food.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't have the information in front of me on the hours of the restaurants. I know somebody that is working on that. We'll see what we can get along those fronts. But I know last year it's hard to gauge by last year because again there were disruptions in regards to service help, right? And that impacted some of the hours of operations where some of the restaurants that would traditionally be open on certain days or certain times just weren't because honestly they just didn't have the staff to do it. So I don't know where we're at with the Westgate right now on that front, or Vegas as a whole on that front. But I would have to say probably better than what we experienced August of last year. Got a little bit better in October. Should be a little bit better this time around. Westgate website's going to be the best one. And if there's any information that we can actually get out there prior to the event to let people know what those options are prior to getting there, we will.
Um, Another question: are players responsible for keeping score in the 9-ball shootout? I assume the answer is yes.
Yes, yes, 100%. Um, so this is a thing that happens every event. Uh, Tends to happen with the higher skill players. I don't want to call them out, but it tends to happen where we get a score sheet, and nobody kept score, right? That's not a good thing. We need those scores, even if you're at the upper echelon, all the way through the lower echelon of skill level play. Uh, we need those score sheets filled out, and it is the responsibility of both players for the singles championship. It's the responsibility of both teams for the doubles, right? Wheelchair, again, both players. Um, don't let one person keep score. No outside people keeping score. And there are very important reasons for this. And most of them come down to controversy over what the score should be. So we want to make sure that the people that it matters to the most, the two people in the match, are the ones paying attention to it and keeping the score so that that score is accurate, right? And that we have accountability from those players and can ask those players, right? But inevitably, somebody tries to get their, significant other to keep score or something else. Don't do it. If we find out you're doing it, we're going to give you a sportsmanship warning, tell you not to do it again, right? If we catch you do it again, then we've got to go to penalty phases. We don't want to do any of that. So you're responsible for keeping your own score, both parties.
For doubles, the question is: it's a ball in hand foul if the opponents shoot out of turn. Correct. I'm assuming it is, meaning the doubles partners aren't alternating correctly and somebody shoots twice. Is that ball in hand foul?
It is if you call it before your team gets up
Okay, so
and starts shooting.
let me ask the second
Uh,
part of the question because that was a two-part question.
Yes.
The second
Yes.
part is, that being said, how will that be monitored? Is that just based on the honor system? I assume yes. There's not going to be a referee on every table at all times, right?
No, no, there's not a referee on every table, but if you do run into this situation, what we will do is we will try to suss it out basically. Figure out who shot last. We're going to go through the games. We're going to find out who shot the last ball, right? We're going to do everything that we can to determine what that order is. What we do ask is that teams don't look for an opportunity to call a foul on your opponent. Be a sportsman. You see that they're about to shoot out of turn, let them know. Let them know. You would like it if they let you know. It's easy to do in doubles to miss who shot on the last one, right? Don't be sitting there looking for an opportunity to call a foul to gain an advantage. That's not good sportsmanship. That's not the way we want people to win. However, happens often. You look up, you realize the wrong person shot. Yes, the wrong person shot. Call the foul. Most of the time, the team knows, right? We have very little issues with the team arguing that no, we were in the correct rotation. They admit it, right? But if it comes down to it, tournament officials will deal with that situation. So if you have a discrepancy on that particular call or any call, get a referee. Don't like the referee's answer. Get a floor manager, tournament director, event supervisor.
Fair enough. Final question I have here, at least for now. Can you take a picture of your driver's license for verification on your phone instead of carrying it with you to every match?
So this is something that I'm going to be real careful here, right? I understand why people don't want to carry their stuff around. However, we do ask for a physical copy. If everybody showed up with just a digital picture, funny thing about digital pictures can be altered, right?
Photoshop is a thing, right?
Photoshop is a thing, and I can guarantee you that your opponent is not going to, maybe they're okay with it, but there's a good chance they're not going to be okay with it. If they're not okay with it, we come up and that's what you have, we're going to ask to see the real thing. If you can't produce the real thing in whatever time frame we say, right? More than likely, after the match, within a certain amount of time, you're gonna you're gonna lose that match. You're gonna forfeit that match, right? Even if we let it continue, we want to know that we saw the real thing. Now, there are situations where players legitimately lose their IDs. Stuff happens. Stuff, it's Vegas, it's travel, things go missing, things get stolen, things happen. Watch your stuff. Another,
Yeah.
someone watch your stuff, right? If that happens, come talk to a tournament director. We'll do everything we can to verify your identity, and then we will create an ID card for you to compete in your matches. It's essentially signed off by a tournament director, so that you can continue playing. You got enough stuff to worry about. If you got to go get a new ID, get on a plane, all that stuff, we're going to help you out. All we got to do is be able to verify who you are. We got different ways of doing that. But I would say don't just take a picture of your ID and show up with a match and think that it's going to be okay. It's probably not. If you're in that situation, you want to do a tournament director beforehand, come talk to us and we'll speak with you on site about it.
All right. So there you go. Um, I'm kind of glad you mentioned this though. You worked this in there, and that is, people do get stuff misplaced. Sometimes people get things stolen. It is Las Vegas, and you are going to meet a whole lot of great people out there, from pool leagues across the country. But there are still people out there, and they may not even necessarily be pool players. There are people in Las Vegas that basically go to big, large events, and they look for people not watching their stuff, and they, walk up and just kind of walk by and grab it and keep moving. And that those kinds of things happen in Las Vegas. So be careful with your stuff. Be careful with your hotel room doors, making sure they are locked at night. Latch your door. There are people that will walk down the halls. And again, you're not going to necessarily see this constantly, right? But it does happen from time to time. We hear reports. People like to push on the doors to see if they're open or somebody didn't shut them all the way. And so you just have to be careful, know your surroundings, keep an eye on your stuff. You will be very safe in Vegas, particularly in the hotels. But if you're wandering out at night, you want to have somebody else with you. If you're walking the strip, just to kind of be safe. So just Las Vegas, it is a big city. Not everyone in a big city is as nice as the people you meet on league night. So just be aware, be cautious, be smart, and I think you're going to have a great time. So, Bill, I don't think there's much else we can add. We've covered quite a bit over the last hour and 20 some odd minutes. The takeaways again are make sure you're registered, get registered through your member services account, review the event program, which is now online, uh, pack accordingly, and plan to have a great time when you get to Vegas. And if you have any questions, go back and watch the video here. We gave you a lot of information. I think a lot of the things that we talked about, though, you will find talked about in the event program, in some of the emails you'll be receiving as we lead up to the event. Make sure you're following our Facebook page. There's going to be a lot of information. Bill mentioned the player meeting videos. We push all those out on our social media. So make sure you're staying connected with us, and we will do our best to make it a very exciting and enjoyable experience for you guys. So with that said, Bill, anything you want to add before we sign off?
Thanks for hanging with us. It's a lot of information. Any questions? Ask, right?
All
Ask.
right, folks. Bill and I will plan to see you all in Vegas. And until then, we're going to say goodbye.